Hey everyone, it's Zach with Toil and Troubles DIY, and in this episode, I'm going to be doing an unboxing, demo, and review of Aaxa Technologies' latest Pico projector, the M7. So let's check it out. Just based off of the specs alone, the Aaxa M7 is a seriously impressive projector. It has a native resolution of 1080p, but can accept media up to 4K at 30 frames per second, has a built-in media player, has USB 2.0, has a micro SD card slot, HDMI, auxiliary, and you can mirror a phone to it via USB-C cable. It has electronic focus, auto vertical keystone correction, a 4-watt speaker, an internal battery that lasts up to 3 hours in eco mode. It can be used as a power bank to charge small electronic devices. It has a 3-point mounting system on the bottom so it can be mounted on the ceiling. It utilizes quadcast LED technology, and ringing in at $488, it has a relatively low cost point for everything that's included. Alright, so looking at the box, it says that it's got a 3-hour battery in eco mode. It's got 1200 LED lumens, native 1080p resolution. Box itself is heavy, which is exciting. So inside, you've got your user guide, a card that lets you know how to contact Aaxa if you have any issues with the projector, which is great. Love customer service. You've got your charging cable, remote, auxiliary cables, and then the projector itself. It is hefty. Not light by any means, so it's solid. Really solid build quality. Really nice. It's got a nice black finish to it, outlined in blue. So on the side you've got your electronic focus buttons, you've got your headphone jack, your AV jack, your USB-C port, and your micro SD card slot. On the other side, there's the power supply input, the HDMI input, the USB port, and the 2 speakers. Well, I'm excited to check this thing out. Let's plug it in and see what it can do. Alright, so I've got the Aaxa M7 all set up and ready to go. I've got the HDMI plugged into my computer, which is going to be running a scene from AtmosFX's Witching Hour. This particular decoration has a lot of darks, a lot of brights, and a lot of detail, which should give you a pretty good indication of how well this particular projector performs. Now, before we get started, I did want to mention that Aaxa did send me this projector to try out, but I am still going to give you my honest opinion. So let's jump into it. Alright, so taking a look at the main menu, it is incredibly user-friendly. Depending on what you have plugged into the projector, you can choose between video, music, photos, or go through your inputs, including mirroring to a smart device, digital AV through HDMI, or RCA cables. Going back to the main menu, for your brightness, you can choose between an eco mode. In the eco mode, you're going to hear the fan a lot less, and the battery will last around 3 hours. In standard, you're going to hear the fan a little bit more. The internal battery is going to last around 2 hours, and you're going to get about 650 LED lumens. And then in boost mode, which is its brightest setting, you can only use this if you're connected to AC power, and this is what's going to give you the full 1200 LED lumens. Inside of the settings, you have your picture, sound, and option settings. Inside of picture, you can choose between different picture modes, you can change the color temperature, you can change the aspect ratio, and you can change the projection direction. A couple of different options within sound. And then in the option setting, the main thing to note here is that you can change the keystone manually, or you can set it to an automatic setting. And the last cool feature I want to point out is that on the remote, you have the option of adjusting the focus. Alright, so next we're going to play a scene from AtmosFX's Witching Hour, and we're going to compare the Aaxa M7 to the Optima HD27. The Optima HD27 is a 3200 lumen 1080p projector, and keep in mind that the Aaxa M7 is a 1200 LED lumen 1080p projector.
Corn, boil and bake, mandrake root and venom of snake. A spoonful of fat and slimy old snails, then a sprinkle of yellowed and rotten toenails.
Alright, so the main reason that I want to use the M7 projector is for my Hollusion archway in my display. So in order to see how that's going to look, I've got my scrim set up with the Hollusion fabric inside of it, and you can see the projector rear projecting off to the side right here. So even with the lights on in the backyard and the brightness mode in standard, you can see that the image that it's projecting is plenty bright enough. So let's turn the lights off in the backyard and we can get a better idea of how it's going to look in my display. Alright, well I've gotten to use the Aaxa M7 over the past couple of weeks, so I've been able to compile a list of pros and cons. So here are my honest thoughts. First and foremost, I think the Aaxa M7 is going to be absolutely perfect for digital decorating, both in large windows and on Hollusion fabric for brightly colored scenes. But why is that? In standard brightness mode, I did notice that the darks did not show up very well. Now I don't see this being a deal breaker for digital decorating, but I could see it being a problem for the pop-up movie night, especially if you're watching something with a lot of shadows where you have to be able to make out detail. As I said during the review, I plan to use the M7 for my Hollusion archway, and as you saw in the video, I think it's going to work incredibly well for that. So the only real issue I had with the projector wasn't with the projector, but it was with the remote. The M7 has an IR remote, and this isn't an issue that I've experienced with other Aaxa projectors, but the IR sensor is on the very back of the projector, and in order for the remote to communicate with it, the remote has to be directly in line of sight with that IR sensor. So let's talk about my main takeaways. With an internal battery that can last up to 3 hours, 1200 LED lumens in boost mode, an onboard media player with a micro SD card slot, an electronic focusing system that I really did enjoy using, and it has native 1080p resolution, I think the M7 is an incredible value at just below the $500 mark. Do I think the Aaxa M7 is great for digital decorating? Yes. And then finally, would I buy this projector? Absolutely. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this review. I want to thank Aaxa Technologies for sending me the M7 to try out. If you found value in this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And lastly, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm Zach with Toil and Troubles DIY, and until next time, go make your own magic.